Welcome, welcome. I'm the Reverend Rali Weaver, and today is March 14th, 2021. I welcome you to our tiny desk worship. Today we are celebrating our first church and parish worship from sunny Naples, Florida, where I'm on vacation. Our centering thought today is from Dr. Tedros Adhanom, World Health Organization Director General. Pandemic is not a word to use lightly or carelessly. It is a word that, if misused, can cause unreasonable fear or unjustifiable acceptance that the fight is over, leading to unnecessary suffering and death. I invite you to relax into our prelude from Suite in G major by J.S. Bach, performed by Derry Dolezal.
Hi, I'm Josh Lamy. My family's been a member of First Church since 2012, and I currently serve on the Parish Committee. This past year, I've learned a few things about the church. I've learned how much it means to my kids. My wife and I have seen them use the lessons they've learned at First Church as a lens to process they've been going on in the world and what they've seen on the news. And it's filled us with pride to know that this is a place that's going to help them decide for themselves right and wrong. And it's something they're using to interact with their friends and with the world around them. I've also seen behind the scenes in my work on the Parish Committee, the work that members of our community do to support each other in times of need. It's been a highlight. I've known it's been there, but I didn't realize how extensive it was, this support group. All this has cemented to me the idea that our church is about the people. It's in our principles and helping each other seek truth and meaning, but also realizing that the church is there to help all of us become better versions of ourselves. This is why I commit to First Church, why I participate in committees, and why I commit to pledging financially, knowing that the church is going to grow and support my family, support other members in the church, and also be a vibrant part of our Dedham community.
Welcome. If this is your first time joining us, please know that you can find us on dedhamuu.org, and all of the links to all of our events are there. This week, we still have our daily meditations from 9 to 9:30, as well as our Dismantling White Supremacy book group, where we've all been asked to read our own book. And we have a writing group every other week. All of the links for these events are on our website. I hope that you will join us for Zoom social hour following this worship. We will now begin our morning worship with our introit, There Is a Love by Elizabeth Norton, performed by the First Church Choir. Our opening words are a poem written by the Reverend Lynn Unger on 3/11/2020, titled Pandemic. I have read this before a year ago in our Zoom worship. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel, cease from buying and selling, give up, just for now, on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life, center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has come clear. Do not reach out with your hands. Reach out with your heart. Reach out with your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. I invite you to sing with me hymn number 101 in your gray hymnal, Abide with Me. We'll sing Abide with Me. So I want to light our chalice this morning for all of you at home, for anyone who's feeling lonely and alone, and for all the ways that we can connect in the midst of these difficult times. And I light our green sanctuary candle for all the ways that we try to become a more sustainable congregation, as evidenced by no one coming to church this morning and using gasoline, and all of us staying home and us not heating our meeting house at all, or our parish hall. We're just saving all kinds on our utilities. I invite you to unmute yourself if you're in Zoom worship and say with me the unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to serve humanity in love is our covenant with each other and with God. We'll now have our centering time and our intergenerational message. I'm going to do the centering time. I hope we do have some children with us today, because we're going to go ahead and do our intergenerational message. But this is an intergenerational message, so it's really for all of us. So let's bring this sound into our hearts and our minds and our spirits so we can open our listening ears. Well, I can't hear it anymore. Maybe you can. I don't. I think it actually stopped on its own this time for once. So I want to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about journeying. That sometimes our journeys are taking long trips and walks outside, but these days we're asked to stay home, and I bet most of us are having a staycation right now. So if we're having a staycation, how can we prepare our hearts and our minds for even a staycation? That sometimes that is a bigger journey and a little bit harder to plan for, right? And I think we see lots of evidence of different ways that people are preparing for the staycation. But if you in your heart of hearts needed to prepare for this staycation, what would you bring along with you? And since you're not there to answer, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to think about what you need to bring along for. And if you were going to take things, could it be things like your family, because you want to keep them close, right? On your staycation, you might also want to bring the things you need for your body, like water or food. You might need food. What other kinds of things might you bring along? When I think about it, I would like to bring along a sense of peace, because sometimes when things are out of kilter and aren't the way we want them to be, it's hard to feel at peace. It's much easier to get on the roller coaster, but actually, if you step outside, there are not many cars on the streets, there are not many people walking around. It's actually very peaceful. And it's peaceful in our homes, and maybe we can work really hard to find that peaceful peace in our hearts. So that's something I want us to think about today, is how we can find that peace in our hearts during these difficult times. And there's a song in our teal hymnal that that is called Wo Ya Ya. It's, if you actually have a teal hymnal, you can open to 1022, but I bet none of you do. Um, but maybe some of you do. Oh, that's not it. 1022? 1020. What is your dyslexic minister? The way that it goes, it says, we are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will. And we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Isn't that like perfect for right now? Just to think about that. So I'm going to try to sing it for you. And if you can try to sing along, knowing that those are the lyrics, go right ahead.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will, and we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road may be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Whoa, ya, ya, 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 whoa, ya, ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will, and we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Whoa, ya, ya, whoa, ya, ya, whoa, ya, ya, whoa, ya, ya. I would suggest that music is one way and one thing that we could take along with us during this time. And I want to suggest that you could sing along, whoa, ya, ya. When you don't know what else to sing, you could sing, whoa, ya, ya, whoa, ya, ya, whoa, ya, ya, whoa, ya, ya. Because it's very comforting to hear that, isn't it? Whoa, ya, ya, whoa, ya, ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will.
I invite you into a time of prayer or meditation, as is your practice. We begin by breathing in peace and breathing out love. Breathing in peace and breathing out love. Breathing in peace and breathing out love. We will listen to the meditation on breathing by the First Church Choir, written by Sarah Dan Jones, and then end with some time of silence. Let us be grateful for all the silences in our lives, for with them we may more completely experience sound. Our first reading today is The Parents Are Not All Right, The Experiences of Parenting During Pandemic by Daniel A. Cox and Samuel J. Abrams from the American Enterprise Institute, written in 2020. It is difficult to fully assess the mental health toll the pandemic, the financial fallout, the social isolation are having on our collective mental health. The survey reveals that many Americans express feelings of isolation, loneliness, exhaustion, and being overwhelmed. But these feelings are not experienced evenly across society. It appears that parents in households with children are struggling with the pandemic more than the households without children. And those with younger children express these feelings to an even greater degree. Although parents living in households with children under age 18 are less likely to be physically alone than other Americans are, they are significantly more likely to feel lonely and isolated as the pandemic drags on. More than 4 in 10, 42% of parents report feeling lonely at least a few times a week. In contrast, a little over 1/3 or 35% of Americans who do not have parental duties claim to have felt lonely a few times or more. Depression is more frequently expressed by parents than those without children living with them. Close to half, 44% of parents, say they feel depressed a few times a week or more often. Among those without children, 32% report feeling depressed at least a few times a week. Finally, the sense of feeling overwhelmed is something found more commonly in households with children than with those without. Half, 50% of parents report having cried due to feelings of stress or frustration at least once in the past week. In contrast, only 1/3, 33% of Americans without children at home say they cried in the past week. About 2/3, 66%, say they have not done this. I invite you to relax into our anthem melody by Robert Schumann, performed by Derry Dolezal. Our second reading is The Good and the Bad and the Ugly of COVID-19 Lockdown Effects on Wildlife Conservation, Insights from the First European Lockdown Country, by Raul Menita, Emily Morab, Viola Di Canola, Silvia Mercuria, Marco Paneco, Mario Cafid, and a few others. The COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in a worldwide shutdown of cities large and small while drastically alternating human lives. This massive shift in human activities reduced motorized traffic, restricted travel and trade, shuttered businesses, and closed parks, beaches, and recreational areas. Also has the potential to significantly impact wildlife. Early in the shutdown, images of wildlife in cities were common in news reports and social media, garnering increasing public attention. And declarations of wildlife reclaiming urban habitats. Yet urban ecologists and community citizen scientists have long documented wildlife in cities, including mammals, insects, and other invertebrate birds, and hyperfauna. Many urban dwellers species simply go overlooked by people amidst the daily chaos of their city life, often only noticed by devices such as motion-triggered cameras. In fact, new species are being discovered in densely populated cities. This long documented presence of wildlife in cities brings into question whether the reported wildlife sightings during COVID-19 shutdown are in fact indicative of a change in wildlife behavior. What is possible is that wildlife claimed deserted streets and parks during the shutdown. The reported spike in sightings could simply be due to an increase in observations of wildlife that were always there. After all, wildlife detections are not solely conditional on species presence in a given area. They must also be observed. As city inhabitants followed stay-at-home orders and looked for ways to pass the time, did they take up wildlife watching as a new hobby? Did the already observant wildlife enthusiasts simply have more time to make and share their observations? Regardless of the cause, the relationship between humans and wildlife in urban settings changed during the shutdown, and understanding the reasons for that change could inform urban ecology and conservation. I invite you to sing with me hymn number 167, Nothing But Peace Is Enough. We will sing it through 3 times. Can you believe it has been a year since we shut our church doors and started these YouTube worships and Zoom social hours? When it started, I didn't believe it would take this long. Did you? These days, it seems nobody can talk about anything but the vaccines, with good reason. We all, no matter how introverted or extroverted, are tired of this. In fact, some psychologists feel that the longer this pandemic quarantine goes on, the harder it is for our psyches. I worry the most for parents. Families with children have notably more concerns, stressors, and frustrations, yet we all are struggling as this wears on and on and on. A year ago, I thought that while we humans had to press pause on all our living activities, at least the mammals had come out of hiding and had multiplied in our absence. The industrial and traffic noises ceased. We heard more birds. We saw more bunnies. The flip side of this has been that many of the scavenger animals that live in cities have lost their homes. Nothing in our world ecosystem is as simple as the up and down of a seesaw. Instead, the world is much more complex. In fact, I would suggest that the pandemic and subsequent quarantine has shown us how interconnected we are to our environments, other people, and really the entire world. I was able to get my COVID shot early because I work in a nursing home, and Jenny and Zoe are tested so regularly, we decided it was safe enough for us to travel so Zoe could have a senior class trip. After our testing was negative, wearing 2 masks and often hand sanitizing on the ride to Florida for spring break, we are staying at a family home that's been unoccupied for 2 years. Which is why the Wi-Fi isn't working. Waiting in line for a rental car after we departed our plane, we met a woman from Kansas, one of the few states I've never been in, who started up a conversation with the family of a person going through a kindred battle. Leaving her, I had a new understanding of how COVID has connected us all. Sure, I have never met her before. I don't even know her name, but yet, by the way she interacted with her children, by her lack of disdain when she looked at me wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, and her talks of COVID concerns, I knew we were in the same boat, on the same team. As much as I love all of you, there are times, even in church, that it doesn't always feel like we're on the same team. Even in times of COVID, many of us have conflicting interests, expectations, and different needs. On Friday morning, before I left for Florida, I had to move things in the parsonage garage so the electrician could finish a job he started 2 years ago. Now, 2 years ago, the garage was pristine and ready for electricians. Since that time, broken storm windows were stored there, scrap wood has piled high, and my own family has used the garage as a workout and workspace. Along with the garage having no electricity for 2 years, the Hollyfair closet light has been missing electricity for the same exact time. So after my morning of shuffling things in the garage for the electricians, Grace and I had to move all of the Parish players' costuming and the coat racks to the nursery in the afternoon. Of course, nobody's using the nursery right now because we are not meeting in person. So this isn't a problem, really, at least not right now. Grace and I have plans to clean out the RE closet, which has been a decades-long dumping ground for RE curriculums that go to die. And we hope that the Parish players can then have a nice, locked, dry closet for costuming. In the meantime, we had to get things out of the way for the electricians so I could leave for some much-needed R&R. There is some part of me that is so excited to get these nooks and crannies organized, and another who was so frustrated about shuffling and organizing. And that's how I had to spend my Friday sermon writing time before vacation, that if you had happened upon me, I might have looked like Medusa and turned you to stone. My job often feels like one of those plastic square sliding numbers games where you have to move one tile at a time to get the tiles in the right place. And this gets me to my point for the day, or at least one of them. For some of us, we have been using this time for waiting during quarantine as a time of holding our breath, and others are culling and organizing and redecorating for when company can come again. And this gets me to another point I want to make on this anniversary of our first day of COVID. There really is no reason to rush things. And as I need to remind myself over and over again, no reason to get upset. This is right now, in all our waiting and cleaning up and pushing, this is our life. Life is not some perfect freedom full of constant blissed out joy. Life is not perfectly organized, nor does it stay clean all the time. Life is the frustrations that we feel when waiting for vaccines or having to clean up for something that should have happened 2 years ago. But it's also the miracle that there is a vaccine and there will be electricity in the Hollyfair closet and my garage. I think if I learned anything from COVID, I've started to learn that just to take a day that is handed to me and embrace it, witness it, watch it, feel it, see it. I hope you've learned that too. And please know that no matter how long this goes on, when we get back together for good, this is a new normal we will never forget or abandon completely. I hope you'll join with me in singing hymn number 88, Calm Soul of All Things. And now, let us fix our steps so we stagger not in the uneven motions of this crazy COVID world, but go steadily on our way, neither censuring our journey by the weather we meet or turning aside from anything that might befall us. Amen.
May the blessings of love rest upon you. May peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and
Please join me for Zoom Social Hour.